The massive chamber of the Galactic Council buzzed with excitement. Representatives from over 300 spacefaring civilizations had gathered for humanity's first official presentation. Among them, the giant purple-skinned delegates of the Starborn Empire took up nearly twice the space of any other species, their ceremonial armor glinting under the chamber's bright lights. Admiral James Thompson stood tall despite being dwarfed by the alien representatives around him. His crisp blue uniform, adorned with Earth Fleet medals, seemed almost plain compared to the elaborate outfits worn by other species. Behind him, a holographic display showed Earth's first deep space diplomatic fleet waiting outside the Council station. "Honorable members of the Council," Thompson began, his voice clear and strong. "Earth extends its greetings and hopes to join your community of advanced civilizations." The Council leader, an elegant being with silvery skin, nodded respectfully. "Welcome, Admiral. Please show us your fleet's capabilities so we may assess your civilization's readiness for full membership." Thompson pressed a button on his wrist device. The holographic display expanded, showing 10 sleek vessels, each roughly the size of a small cruise ship. Their dark blue hulls featured the distinctive UN spaceship markings, and their design was unlike anything the Council had seen before. Compact, streamlined, and clearly built for efficiency rather than show. A rumble of whispers filled the chamber. Then, from the Starborn Empire section, came a sound that made Thompson's jaw tighten. Laughter. High Commander Vex of the Starborn Empire stood up, his massive frame casting a shadow across several rows of seats. "You call these tiny vessels a fleet?" His booming voice echoed through the chamber. "Our smallest scout ships are larger than your largest vessel." More laughter spread through the chamber. Thompson noticed several representatives trying to hide their amusement behind their hands or tentacles. "Size isn't everything, High Commander," Thompson replied calmly. "Our ships are designed for maximum efficiency and—" "Efficiency," Vex interrupted. "Look at my people's ships." He activated his own holographic display, showing massive starborn dreadnoughts that dwarfed the human vessels by a factor of 50. Each one bristled with weapon ports and looked like a floating city. "This is what a real fleet looks like." The Council leader raised a hand for silence. "Admiral Thompson, while we appreciate Earth's initiative in reaching out, we have certain standards. Your vessels seem barely capable of interstellar travel, let alone defending your territory or contributing to Council operations." Thompson felt his blood boil, but kept his expression neutral. He knew what these aliens couldn't see: the revolutionary technology packed into Earth's ships, the AI-assisted systems, the quantum-linked communications, the automated defense arrays that made large crews unnecessary. But they hadn't asked about any of that. They'd taken one look and made their judgment. "We understand," Thompson said diplomatically. "Earth will continue to develop its fleet." "A wise choice," Vex rumbled. "Perhaps in a few centuries, you'll have vessels worthy of Council space. Until then, stay in your little corner of the galaxy. We wouldn't want your tiny ships getting lost among the real fleets." As Thompson left the chamber, he heard the Council moving on to more pressing matters. Only he noticed the small device on his wrist quietly recording every detail of the starborn ships displayed so proudly in that chamber. Every weapon placement, every design weakness, every oversized system that sacrificed efficiency for intimidation. Back on his flagship, the EFS Thunder, Thompson sat in his command chair and opened a secure channel to Earth Command. "How did it go?" asked the Fleet Admiral's hologram. Thompson allowed himself a small smile. "Exactly as intelligence predicted, sir. They completely underestimated us. The Starborn Empire's ships are even bigger and less maneuverable than our scans suggested." "Excellent." The Fleet Admiral nodded. "Continue monitoring. If they're true to pattern, they'll try to annex our territory within the month." "And we'll be ready," Thompson said, looking at the real specifications of his ships, data that hadn't been included in the Council presentation. "They think size matters. Let's show them what humanity's tiny fleet can really do. 2 weeks after the council meeting, Earth's military command center buzzed with activity. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Thompson stood before a table of holographic star maps, watching as red dots appeared across human space. "Another starborn fleet spotted, sir," reported Captain Robert Drake, pointing to a new cluster of enemy ships. "That's the third one this week, moving toward our borders." Thompson nodded grimly. Their spies had been right. The Starborn Empire wasn't waiting long to make their move. "Show me the size comparison." The hologram shifted, displaying the massive starborn vessels next to Earth's ships. The difference was stark. Each alien dreadnought could hold 20 human ships in its cargo bay. But Thompson smiled, seeing something the aliens had missed. "Look at their engine configuration," he said, zooming in on one of the enemy ships. "All that size means they need 2 minutes to change direction. We can do it in 10 seconds. The door slid open, and Dr. Anna Miller rushed in, her gray hair messy from hours in the testing lab. "Admiral, the final tests on the Thunderbolt-class destroyers are complete. You need to see this." The hologram changed to show footage from the asteroid belt. A small dark blue ship, barely visible against the space background, weaved between massive rocks at speeds that seemed impossible. Its movements were smooth, precise, like a dancer among the stars. The AI targeting systems are operating at 99.8% efficiency, Dr. Miller reported proudly. And the quantum-linked swarm tactics are working perfectly. One pilot can control 5 ships simultaneously. The other officers in the room straightened in their chairs. They knew what this meant. While the Starborn Empire built bigger ships to show off their power, humanity had gone in the opposite direction. Smaller, smarter, deadlier. "How many Thunderbolts are ready?" Thompson asked. 50 ships, fully armed and crewed," Dr. Miller answered. "The automated factories can produce 5 more every day." Captain Drake whistled low. "The Starborn think they'll be fighting 10 ships. Instead, they'll face 250, all moving like that." The room's mood shifted from tension to excitement. Thompson walked around the hologram table, studying the enemy fleet positions. "They're making the same mistake everyone makes with humans. They think bigger is better." He pressed a button, bringing up classified footage from Earth's military history. The English longbow against French knights, Sherman tanks against German tigers, Vietnamese guerrillas against modern armies. Again and again, humanity proves that skill beats size. "Sir," a young lieutenant interrupted, "incoming transmission from the Starborn Empire." The main screen lit up with High Commander Vex's massive purple face. His expression was a mix of contempt and false politeness. "Admiral Thompson, I bring news from the Galactic Council. Your sector has been reclassified. The Starborn Empire will now provide protection for your developing civilization." Thompson kept his face neutral. "That's very generous, High Commander. When should we expect your arrival?" "Our first fleet enters your space in 3 days," Vex said, his mouth twisting in a smirk. "I trust your tiny ships will give them proper clearance." After the transmission ended, the room was silent for a moment. Then Thompson turned to his officers. "They're coming to take our worlds, thinking we can't stop them. Thinking we're primitive because we build small." He brought up the tactical display one more time, showing Earth's hidden fleet formations. The Thunderbolt-class destroyers were positioned perfectly, waiting in asteroid fields, behind moons, in gas-giant atmospheres, places where the massive starborn ships couldn't follow. "Send the code word to all ships," Thompson ordered. "Operation Thunderstrike is now active. Let's show the galaxy why humans never needed to build big ships." Dr. Miller smiled as she looked at the display. "They think they're hunting prey," she said quietly. "They don't realize they're walking into a swarm of hornets." The room hummed with final preparations. In 3 days, the Starborn Empire would learn why it was dangerous to underestimate humanity. In 3 days, they would learn why Earth's ships were small. In 3 days, they would learn to fear the tiny fleet. The massive starborn invasion fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. 50 enormous warships, each one gleaming purple and gold, moved forward like floating mountains. Their weapon sports glowed with energy, ready to force humanity into submission. High Commander Vex stood on his flagship's bridge, looking at the tactical display with satisfaction. "Scan for the human vessels," he ordered. "Not that such tiny ships could threaten us." "Sir," his sensor officer called out, confusion in his voice. "We're not detecting any ships, just debris and background noise." Vex frowned. "Impossible. Their patrol ships were here yesterday." "Scan again." Suddenly, red lights flashed across every console. The sensor officer's eyes widened in panic. Multiple signals appearing. They're everywhere. The space around the starborn fleet seemed to come alive. Small dark blue ships appeared from behind asteroids, emerging from gas clouds, and rising from planetary shadows. They moved with impossible speed, their engines leaving brief blue trails in the void. "Count those ships," Vex roared. 200. No, 250. They're using some kind of coordinated movement pattern. Inside the ES Thunder, Admiral Thompson watched the battle display with calm focus. "All ships, execute attack pattern Delta. Show them what the tiny fleet can do." The human ships moved like a swarm of angry wasps. 5 ships would move in perfect sync, diving between the massive starborn vessels, their smaller size allowing them to dodge the slow-moving enemy weapons. When the alien ships fired their massive guns, they hit nothing but empty space. "Impossible." Vex slammed his fist on his command chair. "They're too coordinated. No pilots can fly like that." He was right. No single pilot could fly like that. But each human ship carried an AI combat system linked to 4 other vessels. One human pilot, backed by advanced computers, controlled 5 ships as if they were extensions of their own body. "Target their engine sections," Thompson ordered. "Execute precision strikes." The human ships darted in closer. Their weapons were small compared to the starborn guns, but they didn't need to be big. Like surgical lasers, they cut through specific points in the enemy ship's armor, targeting vital systems with deadly accuracy. "Sir," Vex's damage control officer shouted, "they're not trying to destroy us. They're disabling our engines and weapons with precise hits." 3 starborn dreadnoughts were already drifting helplessly. Their massive weapons were useless against targets too small and fast to hit. Their thick armor meant nothing when the humans didn't bother shooting at it, instead slipping through gaps in their defense screens to strike critical systems. "Launch fighters," Vex commanded desperately. "Swarm them with our own small ships." But when the starborn fighters emerged, they found themselves outmatched. The human vessels moved in perfect formation, their quantum-linked systems allowing them to react faster than any organic pilot could. It wasn't a battle. It was a dance, with Earth's ships leading and the enemy stumbling to keep up. "Message from the humans," an officer reported. Thompson's voice filled the starborn command center. "High Commander Vex, your engines are disabled. Your fighters are outmatched. You have 2 choices, retreat or learn how humanity really fights." Vex watched in shock as another of his mighty dreadnoughts went dark, its systems precisely cut away by the human attacks. In just 30 minutes, Earth's tiny fleet had turned his invasion force into floating wreckage without destroying a single ship. "All vessels, emergency retreat," Vex ordered. The surviving starborn ships engaged their backup engines, fleeing the system as fast as their damaged ships could move. On the Thunder, Thompson allowed himself a small smile. "Send word to Earth Command. The first attack has been repelled. 0 casualties on our side." Captain Drake grinned. "Should we tell them why we build small ships now?" "No," Thompson replied, watching the enemy fleet limp away. "Let's wait until they come back. Something tells me they still haven't learned their lesson about underestimating humanity." Behind him, The tactical display showed his fleet resuming their hiding positions, disappearing back into the solar system's shadows. The tiny fleet that had just changed the rules of space warfare waited silently for the next round. Dr. Anna Miller stood before the Galactic Council's emergency session, her hologram projected in the same chamber where they had once laughed at Earth's ships. The room was silent now. No one was laughing anymore. "You want to know how we defeated your most powerful member's fleet?" she asked, her voice clear and confident. "Let me show you why size isn't everything." Behind her, a hologram displayed one of Earth's Thunderbolt-class destroyers next to a starborn dreadnought. The size difference was still shocking, like comparing a robo to an aircraft carrier. "Every civilization here built bigger ships because they could," Dr. Miller continued. "But humans, we asked a different question. What if bigger isn't better?" She zoomed in on the human ship's internal systems. No wasted space, no massive corridors, no huge crew quarters. Our ships need only 5 crew members each. The rest is automated. The council members murmured in surprise. Most of their ships needed thousands of crew members to function. "But how do you control such complex systems with so few people?" asked one of the alien representatives. Dr. Miller smiled. "The same way the human brain controls the human body, with neural networks. Each ship has an AI system that handles thousands of tasks per second. One human pilot, linked to the AI, can control 5 ships at once through our quantum network." A hologram showed a demonstration of 5 ships moving in perfect formation, weaving through an asteroid field like a school of fish. "Your giant ships are impressive," she admitted, "but they're like ancient dinosaurs. Big, powerful, and too slow to catch their prey. Our ships are like hawks, small, fast, and deadly precise." In the back of the chamber, Admiral Thompson watched with pride as Dr. Miller revealed more of their technology. The Starborn Empire's representatives were noticeably absent, still licking their wounds from their failed invasion. "Look at your ship designs," Dr. Miller pointed to various alien vessels. "All that armor, all those massive weapons. But you never considered that bigger targets are easier to hit. Our ships don't need thick armor. They simply don't get hit." She demonstrated with another simulation. A massive energy beam from a starborn ship passed harmlessly through space as a human vessel easily dodged it, moving 3 times before the larger ship could even begin to turn. "And our weapons." She zoomed in on a Thunderbolt's precision cutting beams. "We don't need to smash through your armor. We simply cut what we need to disable you, like surgeons instead of butchers." The council leader leaned forward, genuine interest in their silvery eyes. "This changes everything we thought we knew about space warfare." "It should," Thompson said, stepping forward to join Dr. Miller. "Because right now, the Starborn Empire is rebuilding their fleet, making their ships even bigger, thinking that's the answer. But they still don't understand." The hologram showed the battle footage from 3 days ago. 250 human ships dancing through space, systematically disabling an enemy fleet that never had a chance to fight back. "We didn't build small ships because we had to," Dr. Miller concluded. "We built them because they're better. While you focused on intimidation, we focused on innovation. While you built space battleships, we built space fighters. And now..." She let the sentence hang as the hologram showed Earth's automated shipyards. New Thunderbolt-class destroyers were being completed daily, each one more advanced than the last. "Now," Thompson finished for her, "the galaxy needs to accept that humanity isn't just another primitive species with a tiny fleet. We're the ones who will revolutionize how space warfare works." The council chamber erupted in discussion. Representatives from dozens of worlds crowded forward, eager to learn more about Earth's designs. In the chaos, Dr. Miller turned to Thompson and smiled. "Think they're finally taking us seriously?" she asked. Thompson watched as the mighty Galactic Council practically begged to learn humanity's secrets. "I'd say so. Amazing what a little humility can teach people, even if they have to learn it the hard way. The war room deep beneath the Rocky Mountains was silent as Admiral Thompson revealed the next phase of Earth's strategy. The holographic display showed the Starborn Empire's home systems in red, with their massive defense fleets marked as pulsing dots. They've doubled the size of their ships, Captain Drake reported, pointing to the latest intelligence images. The new dreadnoughts are twice as big as the ones that attacked us. Thompson shook his head. They still don't get it. Begin Operation Thunderstrike. Let's show them why bigger targets just mean bigger problems. Across Earth's territory, 500 Thunderbolt-class destroyers powered up their engines. Thanks to the automated shipyards working around the clock, Earth's tiny fleet wasn't so tiny anymore. All ships, execute jump sequence, Thompson ordered. Remember your training. Hit fast, hit precise, and don't get greedy. The human fleet vanished into faster-than-light travel, moving in perfect formation despite being spread across thousands of miles of space. Their quantum-linked systems kept them coordinated better than any conventional communications could. They emerged deep in Starborn territory, right in the middle of their primary shipyard system. Massive half-built dreadnoughts floated in space, surrounded by construction platforms and defense stations. High Commander Vex was reviewing construction plans when the alarms blared. "What's happening?" he demanded. "Multiple human ships detected," his officer shouted. They're everywhere." This time, the human ships didn't bother hiding. They didn't need to. 500 vessels moved like a swarm of angry bees, each group of 5 ships acting as one perfect unit. Their precision-cutting beams sliced through construction platforms, carefully disabling building equipment without risking the thousands of civilian workers. "Launch all ships," Vex ordered. "Crush these humans once and for all." The massive new Starborn dreadnoughts powered up their engines, but Thompson had counted on this. The bigger ships were even slower to move than before, their enormous weapons taking longer to track targets. "Execute Pattern Omega," Thompson commanded from his flagship. "Show them what real space combat looks like." The human fleet split into smaller groups, each one targeting a specific weakness in the Starborn defenses. Some ships dove through gaps in their defense screens that the larger ships couldn't cover. Others used the enemy's own massive ships as shields, hiding behind them to strike at vital systems. "Sir," Dr. Miller's voice came over the command channel. "The new targeting computers are working perfectly. Casualty rate among shipyard workers, 0%. All cutting beams hitting exactly as planned." This was humanity's true strength. Not just building small ships, but using them with surgical precision. While the Starborn weapons could have destroyed entire stations, the human fleet disabled their targets without a single civilian death. "They're retreating," Captain Drake announced. "The big ships are pulling back to protect their core worlds." Thompson nodded grimly. Phase 2. Target their fuel production facilities. Same rules. No civilian casualties. Precision strikes only. The human fleet moved like a cloud of lightning, striking key military targets across the system. Wherever the massive Starborn ships turned, the smaller human vessels were already gone, leaving disabled facilities in their wake. High Commander Vex watched in horror as his mighty defense fleet proved useless. The humans weren't trying to destroy his ships. They were systematically crippling the Empire's ability to build and fuel them. "Send the signal," Vex finally ordered, his voice heavy with defeat. Request parley with the human admiral." Back on the Thunder, Thompson received the message with satisfaction. "All ships, hold position," he ordered. "I think they're finally ready to talk." Captain Drake smiled. "Should we tell them we only used half our fleet?" "No," Thompson replied, watching the mighty Starborn Empire's ships power down their weapons. "I think they've learned enough about underestimating humanity for one day." The tiny fleet formed up around the Thunder, their dark blue hulls gleaming in the starlight. They had proved once, and for all that in space combat, like so many things, it wasn't the size that mattered. It was how you used it. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council looked very different now. Where massive starborne warships had once dominated the space outside his windows, vessels of all sizes now patrolled, including dozens of the sleek, dark blue human destroyers. High Commander Vex stood before the council, his proud shoulders slumped in defeat. The Starborn Empire officially requests peace talks with Earth, he announced. We also request their assistance in redesigning our fleet. Admiral Thompson sat quietly in the human delegation section, remembering how different things had been just months ago when they'd laughed at Earth's tiny fleet. Now, representatives from every major civilization were lined up to learn humanity's shipbuilding secrets. The council leader raised their silver hand. Before we proceed, we request that Earth explain how they achieved this revolution in space warfare. Other worlds wish to learn. Dr. Miller stepped forward, activating a holographic display. The answer is simple. We studied history, human history. The display showed ancient battles from Earth, Greek triremes outmaneuvering larger Persian ships, World War II destroyers protecting convoys, modern sea battles where small, fast boats could threaten massive carriers. Humanity learned long ago that bigger isn't always better, she explained. We took those lessons to the stars. The hologram shifted to show the internal layout of a Thunderbolt-class destroyer. Our ships are 90% automated. The few crew members we need are linked directly to the ship's AI, becoming part of it. This lets us build smaller, faster, and smarter. An alien representative stood up. But how do you defend against larger weapons? You don't, Captain Drake answered, joining Dr. Miller. You avoid them. Our ships move too fast to hit. Even if you graze us, our size means less damage. We're harder to target, harder to hit, and cheaper to repair. The display showed footage from their battles with the Starborn fleet. Human ships danced through gaps in enemy defenses, struck with precision, and vanished before the larger ships could respond. But the real revolution, Thompson added, standing to address the council, isn't our technology. It's our thinking. We stopped trying to win through intimidation and started winning through innovation. Vex nodded slowly. We built our ships to show power, to frighten enemies. But you can't frighten an enemy you can't hit. The council chamber buzzed with excitement as more representatives came forward with questions. How did the quantum linking work? Could their civilizations adapt their ships to use human AI systems? Would Earth share its designs? We will help all peaceful civilizations improve their defenses, Thompson announced. But remember, copying our ships isn't enough. You need to change how you think about space warfare. Dr. Miller activated one final simulation. It showed the future of space combat. Fleets of smaller ships working in perfect coordination, protecting trade routes, and keeping peace without needing to threaten worlds with massive weapons. The age of the giant dreadnought is over, she declared. The future belongs to those who understand that precision beats power, speed beats size, and intelligence beats intimidation. The council voted immediately. Earth would not only receive full membership but would lead a new committee on modernizing space warfare. The human approach would become the new standard for the galaxy's combined defense forces. As the session ended, Vex approached Thompson privately. We were wrong about humans, the massive alien admitted. We thought you were primitive because your ships were small. We didn't realize that we were small because we were advanced. Thompson finished with a smile. It's a common mistake. Fortunately, it's one the galaxy only needed to learn once. Outside the council windows, a formation of human ships performed a precision flying display. Their dark blue hulls gleamed as they moved in perfect sync, showing the galaxy what the future of space warfare looked like. The day they had mocked the tiny fleet now seemed like ancient history. Humanity hadn't just won a war. They had revolutionized how wars would be fought. And they had done it not by building bigger guns, but by being smarter about how they used them. 5 years after the Starborn War, Admiral Thompson stood on the observation deck of Earth's new space academy. Below him, vessels of all sizes practiced formation flying. some as large as the old starborne dreadnoughts, others even smaller than the original Thunderbolt-class destroyers. Quite a change from when they laughed at our ships, Captain Drake said, joining him at the window. Now a senior instructor at the academy, Drake supervised fleet training for 20 different species. Combat Group 3, tighten up your formation. Dr. Miller's voice came over the command channel. She was directing today's exercise. A mixed fleet of human and alien vessels, demonstrating the new standard in space warfare. Thompson watched as a massive starborne ship, now rebuilt with human technology, moved in perfect sync with 5 smaller Earth vessels. High Commander Vex himself commanded that ship, having become one of the strongest supporters of Earth's naval doctrine. Status report, Thompson asked, turning to Drake. The new hybrid fleets are performing above expectations, Drake replied. The quantum link networks let ships of any size coordinate like ours. Even the biggest vessels can move with precision now. Through the window, they watched as the training fleet demonstrated their capabilities. Large ships provided heavy firepower, while smaller vessels darted around them in protective screens. It was a perfect blend of strength and agility, power and precision. Message from the Council, a young officer announced. They've approved the expansion of the Academy. 10 new training facilities will be built across the galaxy. Thompson nodded with satisfaction. Earth's victory hadn't just won them respect. It had transformed space combat forever. Now, every civilization understood that true power came from how you used your ships, not how big you built them. Remember the day they mocked our fleet? Drake asked with a smile. Now they send their best officers to learn from us. The observation deck's door slid open, and High Commander Vex ducked through. Even after 5 years, it was still impressive how the massive alien moved with such grace, a sign of how much the Starborn had changed. Admiral, Vex rumbled warmly. My crew has finished their training cycle. I must admit, controlling a ship with neural links, it's like becoming one with space itself. That's the secret we tried to tell you from the start, Thompson replied. Size means nothing if you can't use it effectively. They watched as the training fleet executed a complex battle scenario. Ships of all sizes moved like dancers in space, each knowing its role perfectly. When they fired their weapons, they hit precise targets with surgical accuracy. The galaxy has changed, Vex observed. No more arms race to build bigger ships. No more wasting resources on massive weapons. Now we compete to build smarter, more efficient vessels. Dr. Miller joined them, her face glowing with pride. The Academy had been her idea, a place where all species could learn to fight smarter, not bigger. Latest statistics from the Galactic Defense Force, she reported. Piracy is down 90%. Border conflicts have dropped by 85%. Turns out, when you can't win by intimidation alone, people are more willing to talk. Thompson smiled, remembering how it all started. One small fleet, dismissed as primitive, had shown the galaxy a better way. Not through overwhelming force, but through intelligence, efficiency, and precision. Next training cycle starts tomorrow, Drake announced. We've got students from 30 different worlds. Teach them well, Thompson said. Remind them that the most important lesson isn't about ship size or weapon power. It's about thinking differently. Outside, the training fleet finished their exercise with a perfect formation passed by the Academy. Large and small ships flew together, their crews linked by technology, and united by a new understanding of space warfare. They had all learned the lesson that humanity had known all along. True strength comes not from size, but from how cleverly you use what you have. The tiny fleet that changed the galaxy had become a symbol of that truth, and no one was laughing anymore.